All right, this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 10, verse 26, and he reads, "Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known." St. Mark 4, verse 22, and he reads, "For there is nothing hid which shall not be manifested, neither was anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad." St. Luke 12, verse 2 reads, "For there is nothing covered, and it shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known." All right. Shalom, Sensei Vesharala, Kal, Hayamla, Allahayanawa, Abanawa, Yahawa, Bahasham, Yahawashai, Bahasham Rakaha, Kodash. My name is Gabaga of the Hopeful Election from the Company of Prophecy in Toronto. And today is Monday, January 26th, another day closer to the deliverance of the elect of Israel and the destruction of Babylon the Great, aka America, which should be destroyed. All right, and as is written, let the elders that rule well become worthy of double honors, especially they who labor in their word and doctrine, which are the Presbyterian of Graham Millstone, beginning with the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders on down. Peace and salutation to all the Akim of on the highways and byways that continue to push his truth and honesty and sincerity, and in the few names of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, whom the world only calls God. Yahweh means he to be, he is, he exists, the power of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His name is Yahweh, all right? And his son's name is Yahweh Shai, whom the world only calls JC. Yahweh Shai means the deliverer or his savior, and that's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, all right? The Alpha and the Omega, the Messiah, all right, who came to die for the sins of Israel, beginning with the elect, all right? And he's a so-called black man, according to the scriptures, and the Ruach Kodash is the Spirit Holy. These are the names that he's supposed to call upon, especially so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and all among the heathen. It may look like the heathen, but the line goes back to the patriarchy of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side, right? And that's the truth, man. So going into it, this is a video that I want to touch on, as opened up with the scriptures that I read, basically quoting Yahweh Shai said, in the three accounts, the three witnesses of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, basically saying how there's nothing hid that shall not be revealed, and anything covered that shall not be made manifest. And right now, as it is, here it is every day, this man is getting exposed, man. This man is getting exposed. The so-called white man, for his wickedness that basically has his tentacles throughout the whole earth, okay, and it's as far as reaching as Kenya, of course, because now it's coming out that the whole thing that happened over there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, okay, the whole thing with the migrants in Somalia, okay, that's been targeted. Okay, that's because it came out that there was actually a big scandal that was happening involving them, and it was under the watch of Israel. Of course, there was connection with America. Basically they're taking taxpayers' money and funding it through and basically funding it among the Somalis, and the money was being appropriated over there in Kenya, and they're building malls, schools, and all these buildings. Okay, and was really catered towards the Somali community, right? Which I'm playing this video is gonna come out. Okay, the money was being catered towards the Somali community over there in Nairobi, in Kenya, right? And now it's coming out that Trump is going to actually, is looking to invade or basically come in and take those properties, claim back the money that was taken from America. You see, ultimately, this is all part of the conspiracy, right, of the confederacy of these heathen, because in the book of Psalms 83 chapter tells you how all these nations come together with one consent to basically to come against the children of Israel. Okay, so you have Esau, Edom, the so-called white men, Ishmaelites, them so-called Arabs, okay, all right, and you have even the African nations like Somalia, and some of these Hamitic groups in Kenya, in Africa, and they come in to basically to oppress and to keep you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, to keep you down and to keep you, at a disadvantage, while they continue to take the riches, right? So ultimately, this is coming out, and that the whole thing was really propagated, by U.S. and Israel, okay, to begin with, to really take money from the American people, take money from the American taxpayers, and basically give it to those to the Mohammedites and the Israelis, man. Ultimately, that's what it's about. It's all about oppressing the righteous and propping up the wicked. You see, that's how the system runs. That's how this economy runs. Okay, and it's all manipulative. You see, so even going into that, like I brought earlier, going to the Hegelian dialectic, you have the problem reaction solution. Okay, they always give you a problem. Okay, which then the reaction is usually expected. Okay, and then the solution is always to basically the solution was part of the problem to so that they can bring in more problems to have it to where you give them you give the government the green the go ahead, the green light to continue to press you, to continue to keep you down. All right, and it's all done through magic, through manipulation, okay, through sorceries, and through all these players that come together to oppress Jig. So go and play the video.
And apparently they're going to start seizing some of these properties.
As you can see, there's a TikTok that's featured in this video, and it's from this Kenyan woman, and she says, "Oh my OMG, Kenya's shocked at Minnesota tax heist by Somalis as Trump government moves to seize power, like seize property in Nairobi, but with funds," right?
He's in South B, South C, East Lee, Diani.
Yes, this is actually true. So what happened is a lot of, or some of these Somalis that are getting caught up in these scams, they have also looked at their bank transactions, and some of these people are buying luxury apartments, putting them in their name. The United States is working to confiscate those properties bought in Nairobi and to seize those assets so they can be turned back into dollars for the states. So this is what she's talking about.
Most of Nairobi that were built or were bought with these funds. So as in, if you see this thing clearly, I return to the question that I started with, family. What if Trump's America actually owns half of Nairobi?
Whoa. Good question. What if Trump owns half of Nairobi?
Look what I found in a Kenyan newspaper, y'all. This is U.S. agents tracing Somali fraud money in Minnesota back to Kenya. This is their USD. This number right here in alphabets, this is $250 million plus, but they're tracing all the money back to residential and...
So this fraud that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was basically, they had these so-called daycare centers, okay, that were being run by the Somalis, and they would get government funding for the daycare centers, but really there was no babies in there. There was no children that were actually being taken care of. All this money was being laundered, okay, towards these things in Nairobi, Kenya. They're building malls, schools, okay, all these apartments, okay, big, huge residentials, okay, all by the money that was basically being funneled from Minnesota, Minneapolis, okay, but from the taxpayers in America, and being given to the Somalis in Nairobi, okay, Somaliland as well, all right. Okay, so that's how, ultimately, even another thing too, like over here in Canada, like, when you watch the certain communities, that are very, they're very suspicious, because, you never see them actually hold on any jobs. And there's two of these communities, that stand out the most, the so-called Jewish community and the Somalis community. They're the ones that, they have, they usually, like, they usually get their own, they stick to their own people, right? And, they have the same, it's similar in the ways, in basically ways where, like, you never really see them in the job market, okay, in the workforce, all right, usually, you see them, like, basically in the neighborhood, and that's ultimately why you have all these Somali gangs, all these young Somali kids, that don't really have to work. They already have all the lifestyle funded for, okay, so they don't have to work. Now they come up with these gangs, all right, and ultimately this is becoming a big problem to where they actually build up this scam. They come up with these scam ideas, and actually they work them, and the government helps them. Okay, how the government supports them, all right, and it's all to oppress you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans to take away from the poor. You see, that's what it's about. And the thing about it too is, like, over there, even in Kenya, because I grew up in Kenya, so I know what it's like. Kenya, they have a very big Somali population, and back then, it was the same thing too. They never used to work. They just, they just stayed home, like, drink beer all day, all right. and then the money just came in, and you always wonder where it came in from, because ultimately where they came from was like a war-torn area, but yet they had all this money to where they didn't have to work. You see.
Commercial properties in Kenya that they're planning on ceasing. They have a agreement with the Kenyan government. So the Kenyan government is in cooperation with the United States.
So that brings me to the scripture right here. Let's go and get this. Go to the book of Psalm 33. And he reads Psalm 33 verse 1, and it says, "Keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head." Right? Psalm 32 verse 15, let's get that quick precept. It reads, "All that pass by clap their hands at thee, they hiss and wag their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem," talking about so-called blacks, Latinos and Native Americans, because you are, also known as the daughter of Jerusalem. You are the children of Israel. All right, you are there. The Mossad is likened us unto a fair, into a fair comely woman. Pursuant to the book of, I believe it's Jeremiah 6 verse 11. All right, so Israel is likened unto a woman. So therefore, this is talking about your tribes, man. It says, all that pass by clap their hands at thee, meaning basically they see us in our condition, in a situation. Okay, like all that pass by is talking about these other nations, the other heathenistic nations. Okay, these other races, they see us. They basically, and they make mockery of our situation. They find, a situation to be laughable, right? So they clap their hands at thee, they hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, "Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?" Ultimately, they do this because they see us in a downfall, and they were in a downfall because they continue to basically come up with all these agendas to really keep us down. But ultimately, we know it's because we sinned against Heavenly Father, because we broke the commandments. The Most High put us under these nations. And these nations, they want to keep us down there. They want to keep us forever indebted to them. So they come up with all these schemes and all these, and all these ways to come together to oppress us, man. You see? So it says in verse 83, it's like verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against their people. Right, so you have Israel, coming with the American government coming together to take money away from the American taxpayer to fund their own interests, the interest of the Israelis, the interest of America, okay, Qatar, which is these are Ishmaelites. Okay, these all have bases over there in Somali. Okay, Israel has a base in Somali, same as America. Says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against the hidden ones, right? They have said, "Come and let us," and who's the people? Talking about the nation of Israel. You see? God says, they have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." That's right. So ultimately, that's what they do. They come in here because ultimately they know the money that comes from America, it really comes from the blood, sweat, and tears of the tribes. Okay, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's where the money comes from, the taxpayer money, for the most part, anyways, right? Then basically they use our blood, sweat, and tears to fund their interests, to fund their organizations, and to keep us down. You see, I had another principle that I want to get, if I remember it. Let me see. Psalms 2 verse 3 reads, "Let us break the bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." That's right. That's what these nations do. That's what these nations they do. They come together to oppress us, man. Okay, to keep us always, divided, and to keep us, in a situation where we have to rely on them for our daily bread. You see, but everything's coming out now. Back here.
States, they have a mutual agreement treaty that they both signed. You have the FBI out there, you have the IRS investigation division that's working on this, and you have the DOJ that's working on this.
So this is important because if somebody can prove this, that money is being bought with stolen goods or taxes from the United States, then people are going to question the credibility of your success. Is it real? Are you really good business people? Or did you cheat the system? These are fair questions.
Yeah, because the thing is like the Somalis in Kenya, they're talking smack, saying that that they have the best of the best, and that they're working hard, and all their success comes from them, working hard. But it's not true, right? Let's go and get that.
When it comes to being successful in Kenya, especially Nairobi, there is one group that could really reign supreme, and that is the Somali community. There's a neighborhood called Eastleigh, in which the Somali community have turned it pretty much around, but building some of the better malls that you can see in the city. So people are wondering all across Kenya, how are the Somalis so good at business?
Why are Somalis so rich? What's this one thing that Somalis know that Kenyans don't?
I don't think if all Somalis are rich, as many Kenyans think, but we Somalis, we take smart risks, we put God first, and we support each other in business. So we don't get jealous to each other, we push each other. Anyone who wants to start a business, we support them.
So let's kind of start there.
Kenyans think, but we Somalis, we take...
Why are Somalis so rich? What's this?
So right here, this is another Kenyan giving a small interview. So this right here is a Kenyan. So this will be this will be like an Israelite, okay? This is not a Hamite. This is a Kenyan. But when you see the person that is interviewing is a Somali, that's a Hamite. Let me go ahead and get the scripture. Now I remembered it. Took that right from my people. Yeah, come right here, beautiful. The book of Isaiah 10 verse 1. Some verse 1. Isaiah 10 verse 1, and it reads, "Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees." The word there, woe, means death and destruction. So death and destruction to you Americans, to you America, Israel, all right, and you Somalis, okay? They come together to decree unrighteous decrees. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, that write grievousness which they have prescribed." So in this case, you have, you're touching on, the Somalis, okay, American government, the Israelis, okay. Also, you have Qatar, okay, with their Mossad and Al Qaeda. They all come together, right? It says to turn aside the needy from to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people. You see, so that's what they're doing. They're taking away the tax-paying money of Americans, which, like I said before, the majority, the ones that make the most of that is you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You're the one that are always getting defrauded. So to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob their fatherless. You see, so that's what they're doing right here, man.
This one thing that Somalis know that Kenyans don't.
I don't think if all Somalis are rich, as many Kenyans think, but we Somalis, we take smart risks, we put God first, and we support each other in business. So we don't get jealous to each other, we push each other. Anyone who wants to start a business, we support them.
So let's kind of start there. So the young man is saying, we put God first. We are not jealous of each other. We support each other. We take smart business risks. I'm not saying that he is saying that Kenyans do not do that according to him, but he did mention this flow. We put God first. We don't get jealous of each other. In other words, does he feel that Kenyans are jealous of each other?
They trust each other and do something together. That's what Kenyans lacking. But we are not all of us rich, as many Kenyans think. Here in Nairobi, a lot of businesses, a lot of...
And that's really because of the curses that fall upon the people, the hatred of one another. That's presenting the curses, okay? That tells you over there that in Kenya you have Israelites, because ultimately the curses also fell upon them. And the curse of the eye shall be evil towards the eye shall be evil towards a brother. Okay, that's that black on black hatred. Okay, the envious spirit that's amongst the people. The way people don't want to see their own people succeed. So this is true. This is part of the curses, man. This is all in scriptures. Look at the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. When it's out from the 15th verse on down, it gives you a list of all the curses that would befall upon our people. Okay, and these only can be seen, can only be attributed to the children of Israel. Okay, that's how you know who and where we are.
Billions here in Nairobi, so that's not their real life. Somalis in Kenya, they are not even rich. They are like middle class, like that.
The Somalis in Kenya are not rich.
They are not rich. They are not rich as you may think now. Kenyans are more rich than us because Kenyans, they don't invest their money. There's a lot of blood. They have a lot of old buildings. They just sell and they use money for other purposes. They don't invest it. They don't build other buildings. They don't do anything that's visible, that anyone can say this man is rich. What we do that Kenyans are not doing is that Kenyans, they don't invest. They don't take risks. They are just there doing small businesses while they have a lot of money in their houses or in their plots. You know, I have been in many parts in Kenya, like Nyanza province, Narok, Mountain, even Coast.
Okay, so basically, Kenyans do not take risks. Now, again, these communities in Eastleigh or even across the city, some of them are great. So the Somali community has talked about this before. This isn't the first time.
Let's hear this Kenyan out.
That the Somalis are coming from outside the country. They are taking over our property. They are buying our land. They are buying our businesses. They are taking over. You've heard that.
So hold on. So let's go back to the guy. Somalis are coming in out of the country, taking up our businesses, taking up our homes and all this stuff. Okay, this is important to know. This is not me saying it. This is what Kenyans are saying here. Look at what the man who's smiling, look how he's going to respond.
You know what we are doing? We are investing. We are empowering. We are creating jobs. You know, Somalis are the biggest taxpayer in Nairobi. Go and check. The biggest employer. We are creating jobs for your people. We are contributing for the well-being and the economy of Kenya. What are you doing in my country?
Okay, so basically he's saying, we are creating jobs for your people. We're the biggest taxpayers in Nairobi. What are you doing? Okay, let me just talk about this because I had a guy yesterday who confronted me about some of the videos I'm making about the Somali community. Let's say that this is true. Nobody wants to hear somebody respond like this, saying we are creating jobs for your people. What are you doing? Especially if there's any tension, because I do know that Somalis do have, some of them, Kenyan citizenship. But what it seems to be is these Kenyans are looking at Somalis as they are not Kenyans, according to what he's saying, because they're coming in, taking our jobs, our homes, our businesses. And this man's response, in my honest opinion, and you know, he's smiling and everything like that, it comes off as facetious, right? Like he is trolling the guy, you know, like, you know, as if he's better than the person. He may not think so, but that's what it looks like. Okay. And then so people take note of behavior like.
And also, them getting this successful is part of the curses too. It's part of the the curses on our people. Let's go and get that. The stranger that's within thee, the stranger that's within thee. Yeah, Khan, right here. This is the book of Deuteronomy 28, verse 43. Show you that these scriptures, you know, they're coming out. You know, this Bible is a breathing and living document. Okay, it says that the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high. And the stranger that was within us was talking about these other, you know, these Hamitic nations. Okay, that were amongst us. Okay, you know, you had when you left in Egypt, you know, there was a mixed multitude. There was a mixed multitude to where you had, you know, some of these Hamites that came left with us. Okay, that, you know, that guy the midst amongst us. All right, so this is Moses telling our people, okay, that, you know, the stranger that's within thee, that's within you, like those people that are not of your own kindred, okay, in the future they will be above you very high. But that's if you break the commandments of the Heavenly Father, which we did. So therefore, now you have these strangers. Okay, so you see, like even in America, you know, you see like these are the nations, these are countries that come to America, you know, and they, you know, they're able to become successful even and more prosperous than Americans, than even so-called black Americans that have been in America from the beginning. Okay, they're able to, you know, to own businesses, they're able to own their own, you know, they have their own worship areas, they have their own you know, communities, they have their own, you know, if it's like a mosque or temple, whatever the case may be, all right. You know, they have their own, basically, they have their own institutions, okay. You know, they have their own things going, you know, their own programs, their own, you know, even their own burial grounds. Okay, but you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you don't have that. So these are curses of the Most High put upon us, and told us, as a punishment, it would elevate the heathen amongst us to be higher than us, higher than us. So he says, we shall be the tail and they shall be the head, right? So say, the stranger that's within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Next verse, he shall lend to thee. So even this guy right here said, it basically was bragging about how they're employing Kenyans. Okay, they're giving them jobs. That's akin to them lending unto them. So it says the stranger says he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. Shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You see, so now that's what's happened to our people. People even in Kenya, they're suffering, the curses of the heathen coming over them. All right. Even when you see these heathen, where they come from these war-torn countries, but yet they're able to succeed and live a better life than the people of the land. It's part of the curses, man. You see,
Like this because they don't take kindly to it.
In my country. Huh? Have you ever thought about that? You are sending 5 tons of Mira drugs every day. You know what do you say? This is our last remaining Mira market in the world. Yeah. So don't you dare talk about Somalis in Kenya. Huh? When you are doing this to my country. If I were you, I would shush and put up with everything because of what you are doing in my country. Somalis in Kenya, keep building. We are employing your people.
and when you see this man, you can see how proud he is, man. This damn Somali Hamite, man. This damn Somalis, Tutsis, these Hamites, man. They have such hatred in their voice, in their eyes. They can see. Even I would say even more than Esau, really. The more even when you go into slavery, that we were under, when we were, under the Egyptians, it was brutal slavery. Even even back from where I'm from, I was born in Rwanda. Okay, amongst the Hutus and the Tutsis, which the Hutus would be the Hebrews and the Tutsis would be the Hamites. The Tutsis were over the Hutus for a period of 400 years. Okay, and the amount of hell and and pain they inflicted on the Hutus, that stuff is biblical, man. You can't even imagine it. It's for biblical proportion, I would say. But that's the hatred and the pride that these heathen, they have against us. Let's go ahead back here. Let's go ahead and get this again. Psalm 83. Psalm verse 6 says, the tabernacles of Edom, which would be so-called white man, Esau Edom, so-called Esau Edom, the so-called Caucasian, and the main, the head tribe is Amalek, the so-called Israelis, the Jewish people. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arabs. Okay, you have Qatar amongst them too, as a country coming against, in cahoots with Israel and America. Okay, so the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites and of Moab, Chinese so-called, the Hagarenes, which the Hagarenes would be the Hamitic tribe, Gebal and Ammon would be so-called Japanese, and Amalek right here, you already know Amalek is a so-called, the Netanyahus, okay, the men in black, the MIBs, right? The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre would be a Hamitic tribe, nation. So they come together to basically, once again, they come together to cut off the people of the Most High asunder, to keep us down, right? It's the truth, man. So let's go ahead and finish it off.
You should be grateful we are here.
So in other words, you should shut up. Okay? You should be glad we are here. Again, this is the kind of language that would get, and you hear some Somalis saying stuff like this in America. It's something that just will get you in trouble with people. For an example.
But think about it, like these people don't understand that the Most are gonna repay you back what you did unto people. It's gonna be tenfold. Go ahead and get this. A servant of servants. Yeah, okay, so get this right here. It's a book of Genesis 9 verse 25 when it reads, and it said, cursed be Canaan. Canaan was the son of Ham, right? It says, cursed be Canaan. This curse came from our forefather Noah, from Noah, which this happened when basically Noah got drunk after that came out of the ark. They built, he built I mean he planted a vineyard, and then once the vineyard was ready, he made the wine and drank the wine, and then he drank so much where he got drunk, he got wasted, right? And then he became he became naked, but then he had Ham, his second born son, came in and actually washed him naked. He looked on his nakedness, and when he found out that he did that, he cursed him out. He gave him this curse, basically cursed his son Canaan that he'd be a servant of servants. So that's what we're reading right now. And it says, and he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. That's right. And you Hamites, that this is your lot. You Hamites, you're going to be servants of servants. You have to be going to be a slave of the slaves. You Hamites are going to drink that cup. Here it is, you Somalis, you lived a comfortable lifestyle over here. Okay, not paying not having to go to work, right? Even probably not paying taxes, right? But yet, in the kingdom of heaven, you're going to be put to work right next to your buddies, the MIBs.
How they are recognizing Somaliland.
This too.
Israel says Mossad was behind the Somali fraud story. Really? It causes mass outrage in the United States. Boy, has it. Israel claims money going to terrorism. Israel claims Qatar is behind it. Israel built military site in Somaliland. So you see how they're all working together? So we've all heard about the Somali daycare scandal that's happening in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's happening in Minnesota. Right now, I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to tell you how this ties into that scandal. You ready? So it's a big scandal, billions of dollars being funneled to Somali daycares and billions, right? And all of a sudden we're just hearing about it now. What? Well, guess what? Let's remember this.
So I came back to see him a few weeks later.
So this is right after 9/11. This is General Wesley Clark talking to people at the Pentagon right after 9/11. And guess what they told him?
And by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
He said Somalia.
This goes, to Habakkuk 2nd chapter. It tells you, it's going to get that as well. So this is Israel, trying to basically set up his federal banks in all the countries, right? Psalm verse 5, Habakkuk 2 verse 5, and it reads, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, his philosophy, his religions, his education system, okay, his civilization, okay, the so-called Western civilization that he has tried to push in all the countries. Says, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. That's why that's why they had a memo to go into seven countries to end off with Iran, right? It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So that's why America is known as the melting pot.
What? Somalia? Why would we be going into Somalia? What the heck is that about? Okay, so here's a guy. This is Madi Shoshani, and he's the host of TBN Israel. And here's what he's going to tell you that you don't know about this Somali daycare scam. Here we go.
How is the Israeli Mossad related to the recent corruption that was discovered in Minnesota? You're not going to believe it, but there actually is a substantial connection, and it runs through the Israeli Prime Minister office. I'll start from the end. Israel just established relationships with Somaliland, which is not Somalia. But the backstory to the whole Minnesota corruption story is that much of those funds, and again, I think the initial number that came out is about $9 billion. Again, this is crazy. American taxpayer money of, let's say, $15 billion that they imagine were stolen or misdiverted from public funds. About $9 billion of those were sent back to support terrorism, or what they would call the Muslim Brotherhood actions, and this is tied into Qatar. And Israel, of course, was behind the scenes, and I know people love these conspiracies, in leaking some of the information that is responsible or related to the funding of terrorism using that exact money. So the fact that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has a phone call and recognizes Somaliland is tied into Qatar being a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, tied into the Somali funds that were stolen in Minnesota funding terrorism in the Middle East. That is a story that came out right now. It really blows my mind how global terrorism works, but it's such an amazing thing that it was uncovered, and I'm sure there's more news to come on this topic.
Okay, so here's where Gen X girl comes.
That's it, man. The truth's coming out. You're being exposed. You're being found to be a liar. You're being found to be, to be a thief. Okay, and a murderer. Okay, an extortioner. Okay, you're just a vile person. You're a Edom, a soccer white man. You are, you are the real nigger. All right, that's what's really happening. Go ahead and get this and close up with that. And he reads this book of 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. The spirit of his mouth is coming out by the word of the prophets. We condemn this place by bringing out the word, bringing out the truth, showing you what this man is doing behind the scenes, right? And he's being cut to the spirit. It's being cut to the bone. So and the Lord Yahweh shall consume him. The Lord, read again. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 8. And then shall the wicked be revealed. And who's the wicked? The wicked is a so-called white man, Esau Edom. Okay? In America, the American government, okay, the Israelis, all right? These are all of the wicked, all right? The whole Caucasian race. Okay, but it begins with the elites, okay? The wicked elites, the top wicked elites, the bankers, all right? It says, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, by the prophets, and shall destroy the burdens of his coming. That's right. Although Yahweh is going to come, ultimately bring that fire and the destruction. You see? Next verse says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, that's so-called white man, Esau Edom, with all power and signs and lying wonders. You see, so you have all these scams, all these all these backdoor dealings, right? It says, and with all the deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. And also, the ones for people who do not wake up to this man's BS, they're going to be destroyed with him. You see, the 2/3 of people in America are going to be destroyed. Only the 1/3 is going to make out of America. It's because they received not the love of the truth. Okay, this truth that we preach. So they're going to perish that they may be saved. That's right. So ultimately, people that don't receive this truth, you're going to die with the oppressor, with the enemy. That's a shame. That's a shame, man. See that I'm going to tell. I say, "Brakte Yahweh, Brakte Yahushai." So come and Sharola, wa, ba Shalom Akim Shalom.
Comes in. She says the timing. Who benefits from amplifying a scandal now that was uncovered back in 2020? Because it was. Isn't that weird? So, and she links to this. She says, so how beneficial do you think it is for Americans to be outraged at Somalis right now when Israel wants the U.S. government to support its effort to break up Somalia into two countries?